Welcome to Book Time with Ryan. I am Ryan. Today we're doing the bookshelf tour. I'm very excited about this. I've actually already filmed all the tour and I realized it's too long. So instead of doing one big tour, I'm going to have 6 shorter but not that short videos that cover different sections of my bookcases. So almost like mini bookshelf tours, although they're not that short. And they're going to be themed. So each bookshelf tour will have a theme written on it. There will be a total of 6. I will link to all of them in the description, and you can find the ones that you want to look at and spend more time on the ones that you're interested in and less time on the ones that you don't care about. But I'm very excited about this. If you see something today that you like or that you want to hear more about, let me know, because I'm happy to go more in depth with the books that I have. I've collected these over the years. I enjoy the collection I have. I think it's unlike a lot of what you're going to see on BookTube. Certainly different themes and different flavor. So enjoy the video, and I will see you at the end. So on this first shelf, I'll show some of the trinkets first. The first thing is, this is a Williams bullet. It's from the Civil War, and we found it in our backyard when we lived in Tennessee. It's a cleaning bullet. So what it used to have was a zinc ring here, and when it was fired, this 2-piece bullet would push the zinc ring out, and it would clean the barrel. Then we have a megalodon tooth, an ancient shark. And then the final thing is a spearhead that I found in Middle Tennessee. So the books on this shelf, this is all nonfiction. There's a mix of thrillers, horror, and sci-fi, and maybe some other kind of random thing. First one you'll see over here is Falling by T.J. Newman. That's probably my newest book. And then White Shark by Peter Benchley. Peter Benchley wrote Jaws, which you'll see later. Also, Peter Benchley wrote Beast, which I love the cover for. Look at that. That's a tentacle. I don't know what it's about. I think it's about a squid or an octopus. I don't know how to say her name. Louise Erdrich, Future Home of the Living God. Now, I got this because my wife was pregnant at the time, so I've had this for a while. I haven't read it yet. And it's an ultrasound picture. So I don't know anything about it. I don't even know what genre it's in. You have the Hyperion Omnibus that has Hyperion and Hyperion Falls. House of Leaves is next. I learned about this from Caroline Johnson on BookTube. It's one of the earlier books that I got on recommendations from BookTube. Then The Murder Ballads and Other Horrific Tales by John Horner Jacobs. Murder ballads, I like bluegrass, and there's a lot of murder ballads, so I was just kind of attracted to that, but I haven't read it yet. The Fisherman by John Langan. I love this book. It's kind of folk horror, and it's really creepy. I really enjoyed it. And then, because I enjoyed that, his new book that just came out, Children of the Fang, which I believe is a collection of short stories. I haven't read that yet, but I'm excited for that because I really like the way he writes. And he's also responsive on Twitter. Then we have I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I have read. I know a lot of people think that it's really, really scary. I liked it, but it did not blow me away as far as scaring me. Maybe that's because I built it up in my head. The Terror by Dan Simmons. This was, I think, a mini-series on AMC. Then we have Carrying Comfort by Dan Simmons. This is what introduced me to Dan Simmons. I bought this book because of the cover. I thought that was the creepiest looking cover. You can see it's really red. I love this book. I recommend this to everyone. People don't take me up on it because they think it's too long. It's not that long, and it's worth it. So if you're watching this, read this book and then tell me you read it and what you thought. I thought it was really creepy, but this is the first book I bought solely because of the cover, or at least, yeah, I would say it was because of this cover, and I really didn't know anything else about it. That's a creepy cover. It says that it's about vampires, but don't believe it's not about vampires, so don't take that as it's not a vampire book. Then there's Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash. I did really appreciate Snow Crash, and I think it was ahead of its time. Tom Wolfe's The Bonfire of the Vanities. This is the coolest looking cover for this. This is the one that I read. I love this. I also have a signed copy. I also have a signed copy of Carry On Comfort, but I have a signed copy elsewhere, so you'll see that later. Max Brooks' Devolution, which I have not read yet. I picked it up yesterday. At the end of Men, which as a man I'm afraid of, but I have a daughter, so it could be worse. And then there's Dan Simmons' Song of Kali. Next is Jaws. I've done a number of videos on Jaws. It's Peter Benchley. And next is American Psycho. American Psycho is fucked up. Let me just tell you, like, I did not like it. Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill. It's another horror book. Really appreciated it. Very cool. Kind of ghosty, if that's a word. I guess it is. Next is Neil Stephenson's Seven Eves. I haven't read this yet. And then Joe Hill's Nosferatu. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. I actually have no idea. It's NOS4A2. Whatever that is. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I have not read, but it's one of the other early books that I saw in BookTube when I started watching. So we shall see about that. The Employees is my first Danish book by Olga Ravn. It's The Employees, a workplace novel for the 22nd century. Then I have Jaws 2 by Hank Searles and Jaws the Revenge by Hank Searles. Dean Koontz Intensity. This is a very intense book. It also is a book that is interesting to read now because it was written before you would have cell phones and GPS on you. So it's amazing how those kinds of things change the way horror books could be written. But I really liked it. I think my dad recommended it. And then there's, I don't know how to pronounce this, but Dan Simmons' Endymion and The Rise of Endymion. These are essentially the sequels to Hyperion. The two Hyperion books are the first two, and then later on comes Endymion and The Rise of Endymion. I love those. I love all four of those books. And then finally there's Dan Simmons' Olympos and Dan Simmons' Ilium. I haven't read those yet. Those are thick, and I'm intimidated by them. But that is this shelf. On this shelf, we have my John le Carre and spy book collection. But before we get to that, this is the Coast Guard cutter Eagle. It's a bark, and it was a war prize from World War II. It was a Nazi training ship, and it was recovered by the U.S. and converted into a training ship for the U.S. Coast Guard. It's 295 feet, and it was commissioned, I believe, in 1936 in Hamburg, and then was in the Coast Guard in 1946. So that's, sorry, I just hit the camera. That is Eagle. And then there's also a heat plate over here. That's a Coast Guard heat plate. That was in the Coast Guard. So this is my mostly John le Carre shelf. And it's most of my books are ordered by size, but this is the one of a couple shelves that are based in the order that they were published. So we start with le Carre's Call for the Dead. And this is a book club copy from 1962 that I got in a free book drop area, which is pretty cool. So I had another one that looked like this, the Penguin copy. But when I found this copy, I just gave that one away and switched this one out for it. So it was Call for the Dead. Then the next one is A Murder of Quality. The Spy Who Came In from the Cold. That was the real first big success for John le Carre. And then The Looking Glass War, A Small Town in Germany, Naive and Sentimental Lover. This is really the only one that's not about, or basically the only one that's not about, is not a spy thriller. Which was hard to take because I had read a lot of other books before I got to this. And this is kind of like autobiographical, really. But it's kind of like a weird, screwy love story. And because it's le Carre, you're constantly expecting there to be some kind of death or kind of depressing twist, but it doesn't happen. So it's definitely a different taste. And he even talks about that, how this was received very differently from the people who were used to his earlier stuff. This is an omnibus of it's called The Chronicles of Carla, but it's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, The Honorable Schoolboy, and Smiley's People. My ex-wife gave me this before we were married. And I had already read Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, but I was able to read The Honorable Schoolboy and Smiley's People after that. You're going to see the Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy later on my special shelf. Out of the three of these, Smiley's People was my favorite, but they were all great. I just love the Carre. You're going to figure that out because I have all of his books. But then you have The Little Drummer Girl. Then you have The Perfect Spy, Russia House, The Secret Pilgrim, The Night Manager. I had a different copy of this, and then it was... Oh, no. That's the original copy I had. Our Game, The Tailor of Panama. I had a copy that was like this, and then it disappeared at church. I don't know who took it, but I brought it up. So I bought a new one and actually like this copy better. The Constant Gardener, Absolute Friends, The Mission Song, Most Wanted Man, which was made into a movie, Our Kind of Traitor, Delicate Truth, Pigeon Tunnel, which is a number of short true stories, A Legacy of Spies, An Agent Running in the Field. And that's where this is the last book that Le Carre wrote before he died. I think his books ended on the right note. One of my favorite fictional characters is George Smiley, who's a main character in a lot of, in some of his books. It's the main character in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. He actually shows up in Le Carre's first book, Call for the Dead. But this book is really him kind of recounting his experiences to a new class, which is very cool. I'm going to move this. This is my Coast Guard heat plate. It's cool. It's heavy. So we have Adam Sisman's biography of John le Carre, which is great, very thorough. Ben McIntyre's The Spy and the Traitor. Robert Littell's The Company, a novel of the CIA. This book is amazing. This is really, I consider this the American version of the Le Carre stuff. Le Carre stuff was about MI5 and MI6, really. The UK versions of the CIA. Structured differently. But The Company is about the CIA. It's really well done. I started it a long time ago, then stopped it because it was just too much. And when I reread it recently, fairly recently in the last year or two, it was awesome. It was 100% recommend that. 6 Minutes to Freedom is about this rescue of an American that was in Panama years ago. It's a true story. It is amazing. I mean, I think I read it in a day. It was the most intense read that I can remember, especially something that's nonfiction. Then you have Conspiracy of One. Then you have Writer, Sailor, Soldier, Spy, which is about Ernest Hemingway and his secret adventures. I'm a Spy Among Friends, which is about Kim Philby, Great Britain's biggest spy against the UK. And Agent M is about one of the top spies in UK history. He started out in MI6 and did most of his time in MI5. His name's Maxwell Knight. I have a book that he signed once he retired, actually before he retired from MI5. That is this shelf. All right, next we have what is mostly my Ted Bell shelf. On this, you will find my Ted Bell books, and at the other end are Don Winslow books. I have a spot saved for a future Don Winslow book, and I have room for another Ted Bell book too. So this is a kind of a replica of glass that we found in the deck of a ship, and the sun would shine through the deck, and this would help illuminate the darker passages below deck. So for my Ted Bell stuff, this is another shelf that it's done in order, at least for the Ted Bell books that are about a spy, really like a 007 character named Alex Hawke. First one's Hawk, then Assassin, Pirate. Pirate was actually the first book of Ted Bell's that I read, and I'll tell that story a little bit. Then there's Spy, Czar, Warlord, Phantom. I am a character in Phantom. Lieutenant Ryan White is a SEAL in Phantom, and he has a big part in it at the end, which is cool. So that's the first time I was ever a fictional character in one of my favorite authors' books. Then there's Warriors, Patriot. I'm also a character in Patriot. The ship that I was on in the Coast Guard is in Warriors, and then I am a character again in Patriot. I'm in the Coast Guard there. Overkill, and then the most recent one is Dragonfire, and there's a new one coming out, I believe, in November. There's also a Nelson DeMille book here. There's a story in this book. It's a collection of different short stories from different spy and mystery writers, and one of Ted's is in there. So I have that up on this shelf. Ted also wrote two, I don't know what they're considered, children's books or middle grade, or I don't know the grading system. But the first one was Nick of Time, and then the second one was Time Pirate. A lot of these are signed because I know Ted. I got another copy of Phantom since I'm a character, and this is my first Ted Bell book that I ever owned, which Ted signed. It's in rough shape. Look, I'm a true action hero. So this one I read before my ship got underway, or I picked up just because of the cover, which I was like, oh, I'm getting underway on a ship. That's a great cover for that. And I loved it, and it actually took place in some of the areas that we were patrolling. So my parents sent me other books of his for Christmas, because it was around Christmas, and they arrived in Guantanamo Bay, where our ship was. Then there's two novellas. He actually has three novellas, but one of them wasn't printed. The first novella was just a digital version, and that's White Death. And What Comes Around, I think What Comes Around was the earlier one. Then you have the Don Winslow books, which are not in order, but there's The Cartel, Power of the Dog, The Force, The Border, and Broken. Broken's a collection of short stories. And I believe the one that comes out in September by Don Winslow is City on Fire. I guess I should have turned the camera. I really enjoy Don Winslow's books. I really enjoy Ted Bell's books. Ted Bell has a special place for me because he's been a nice guy. He put me in books. It was amazing to get a call from him and then become a character in your favorite author's book. When I get to my very important books, my favorite books, kind of special book area, Ted did send me a proof of Phantom, which he wrote a long message in, and that one's really special to me because that's where I'm a character. So just think about your favorite author and then imagine if your actual name was in the book, and that's how it felt for me. It's just cool. And my fictional self is much cooler than my real self. So that is this shelf. Well, you made it to the end. Thank you for watching that mini bookshelf tour. And I'm going to include a link to the next bookshelf tour. It's either up here or up here. I don't know where it's going to pop up. But that'll be a post-production thing. Thanks for coming and watching this one. And check out the other ones I have to get a better feel for all the books that I have. And then if you see anything that you want to know more about, you want a closer look at, you have any questions about, please let me know. I'm happy to answer those questions. So thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that.